Hi there, and welcome to The Artist's Craft. I'm your host, Stacey Cochran, and we have an outstanding group with us today. Joining us in studio is the Burning Coal Theater Company. To my far left, we have Will Neary, who is a playwright. To his right, we have Angela Santucci, who is a company and board member at Burning Coal. And to my right, we have Sylvia Mallory, who is a co-director of the lab at Burning Coal. And then to Sylvia's right, we have Jerome Davis, who is the artistic director at Burning Coal. Thank you very much for joining us in studio today, folks.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
So what exactly is the mission of Burning Coal? You want to take that, Jerry?
I don't know. Do we have to have one of those? No, I'm just kidding. You know, what it says on the grants that we write is that our mission is literate, visceral, affecting theater. And another way of saying that, I think, is that we're trying to find plays that are honest, that are fair, explorations of serious or important ideas, you know, that are in people's minds right now, and giving voice to the different ideas so that people can come together and consider them. And so you know, language is part of that. That's the literate part. You know, language and the written word is at the core of our art form, I believe. Visceral means that we don't look at a play in the way that necessarily it has been looked at before, but we try to find something about it that's meaningful for this moment in time. And affecting means that we do them full out. We try to do the plays full out and as impactfully as possible. And part of that has to do with the staging, the methods of staging of the play. We try to surround the audience with the world of the play so that you don't get to set off in the distance and think I'm safe here. You know, the play's up there like a movie screen or something. It's never coming this way.
So that fourth wall is really broken down.
It's broken, that's right.
It's a part of the fabric of what Burning Coal is all about.
I think so, and I think that's more than just an aesthetic thing. I actually think that's a political choice too. I hope that what it says to the person in the audience, at least you know, subliminally, is that that we're the same, that there isn't an elite you know, set of people on one side of the room and everybody else hunkered down on the other side of the room, but in fact we're all in the same room and we're all dealing with the same issues at the same time. And so I think there's a political element to it as well.
Now, Sylvia, you are a co-director with the lab, so what are some choices that you, as a director, can make to integrate? What are some practical choices that you've made in integrating the audience with the production?
Well, I think that especially when we were working with Will's play Lightning Rocks, I made a lot of choices to incorporate the audience on stage and bring them further into the piece, and have them be a part of the set itself. So we created little dining room tables that centered around the main actors at center stage, so then they could interact with the actors coming to and from. So that was my way of affecting our audience.
That's great. So what do you think, Will, as the playwright of this, when you see your play produced, what was going through your mind when you actually saw it produced, saw an audience there at Burning Coal? What is that experience like?
I don't know. I don't really remember it. It's kind of like, woo. Well, first of all, just having it read alone was you know, it started to come into life at that point. But I think what just seeing the whole process was really kind of eye-opening, and seeing how other people are going to take what, you know, the stuff that you created, and it's going to change. It's going to become something else. So I don't know if that answered your question or not. But.
And that's one of the things that we would like to stress with the lab is the director and playwright relationship. How we can create together this really beautiful piece of work. These beautiful words can come to life with the two of us. And that's something that we really like to explore in the lab. And this is just a small portion of what we do in the lab. We get together and we meet, and read the works, other people's works, and we critique them.
Sure.
And then we get actors involved, and we try to put them up on their feet, and so it's a really like active process in playwriting and directing at that, and acting, and in self-sustained training as a company, which is really amazing.
Now, Angela, you're an actor with the company as well as a board member. Talk a little bit about some of those dual purposes and duties, if you will.
Wow. As an actor, my first job is to portray the character as honestly as I can, and under the direction of whoever, Jerry, Sylvia, under their guidance to bring that story to life. As a board member, I have a very vested interest in the company and its success, and we just opened our theater in January. That was the renovated Murphy School, and
what's the address?
The address, that's 224 Polk Street, and it's a fabulous space, and it's very historic. It's got a great background to it. It was the spot that the school board voted to desegregate the Raleigh schools in 1960. And so it's a beautiful space, and we're very lucky to have it. And as working on the board, raising money, raising awareness and things like that, to get it open, and then now to fill it. We want to fill it, and we have such a wonderful season, and we have all these other things going on. We have the shows, but then we have the lab, and we have a music series, and we're finding new ways to bring people in all the time.
That's great. So it is a really unique space that you guys have there. Maybe talk a little bit about the history, and what do you personally, any one of you could take this, there's this history of integration at this location. What does that do for you mentally as you're going to this good space, this great space that you now have at 224 Polk Street?
Well, first of all, about the history, the building is 100 years old this year. It was originally built in 1908. It almost immediately burned down and was rebuilt in 1913, and I'm going to touch wood as I say this, as the first fireproof school in the state. And so far so good. It hasn't burned since. But it served the city of Raleigh as an elementary school through 1977. But as Angela said, in 1960, the Raleigh School Board met. This was when the city was in charge of the school system. So the Raleigh City School Board met in that auditorium, in the room that we're performing in now, and voted to begin the desegregation of Raleigh schools. And in fact, that fall, a young 7-year-old African-American student named Bill Campbell became the first African-American student in a quote-unquote white school in Raleigh. Bill went on to become the mayor of Atlanta, so he had quite a successful education, clearly. In other words, it worked. It turns out to have been a good idea. And his brother Ralph became the state auditor and served the state for 25 years in that position. Then in '77, the school was shut down when Wake County took over the school system. They deemed the building to be too small for their use, and the auditorium portion of the school has sat empty since then. So for 31 years, it was sitting there, sort of decaying, and Burning Coal about 7 years ago began the process of raising the funds, and it did take us a while, but we finally succeeded. And in February 1st of this year, of 2008, we opened the new space. As far as what it's like to perform in a space that rich with history, I'll throw that back to Angela, who is the one of us so far that's actually performed on the stage.
It gives you a great sense of respect for the space. Something that happened that was so important there. How do you meet that? That was a defining moment for the Raleigh schools. We want to create more defining moments. We want to bring wonderful theater that will affect people. And as Jerry often says, if you even affect one person in the audience, you've changed one person, and you change the world one person at a time. So that's Jerry's. But that's what we think every time we're in there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a responsibility.
Well, if you guys are just tuning in at home, the group here is the Burning Coal Theater Company. If you haven't heard about Burning Coal's theater company, you should check out their website, which I believe is burningcoal.org. And one of the things that I think that I find really interesting about it, and we've touched on this, but if you guys are just tuning in, is just how involved and integrated you are with the community. That seems to be very much, like you were talking about earlier, Jerry, part of the mission is to find new talent. And I think one of the unique things about this particular group that we have here in studio today is at least 3 of these folks here, I think, and maybe Jerry, you as well, I'm not sure, worked on producing Will's play. Will's a playwright. So I think it would be neat to kind of talk about that process. But first, maybe, Sylvia, if you would explain a little bit about what the lab is and how folks can get involved if they're watching and want to participate.
Yeah, the lab is specifically designed, like I was saying earlier, to create new and affecting and visceral and all these wonderful things that Jerry talked about, new works. And Will was part of that process, and we're very excited to have worked on his piece and be our first play naked, as we call it.
Guinea pig?
Yeah, guinea pig, yes. But how people can get involved is you can check out our website at burningcoal.org, or you can email us at burning_coal@ipass.net, and you can just give us a little email and say that you're interested, and everybody's welcome. So we want everybody to be a part of this, the community to be part of this, artists to be a part of this. So we're very excited about being a part of Burning Coal this way.
Awesome.
Again, there's that idea that somehow we've managed to cultivate over the years that artists are separate or different from other people, that they're a different species, and you can identify them. There goes one right there. You know? and I don't so much believe that. I believe that that art is a manifestation of emotional and intellectual and perhaps even spiritual understandings, and any of us are capable of reaching those understandings at a particular point in our life, and so it's a little silly to separate yourself out and say we're going to only allow these people in the room, because I think you're less likely to generate great art that way. The best way to create great art is to let everyone in the room, and that's what we aim for. And I think that's Sylvia and Johanna Maynard, who's her co-director of the lab, came to me. They're both in their 20s, and which is just too young to even think about anymore. But they came to me and they said, you know, we have this idea of a playwrights and directors lab, and I have heard of, you know, there are plenty of instances of playwrights labs across the country. But the idea of merging those two things into one cohesive whole was very exciting to me. And I don't think we've quite ironed out all the wrinkles yet. I think we're still exploring, and maybe we won't iron out all the wrinkles. Maybe the exploration process in this case will be what's useful. But it has led us to Will and to probably a dozen other writers of varying ages and descriptions, all of whom are quite excited by the process, and I think have already begun to benefit by it too.
Well, the vision of it is extremely exciting, and it's very well thought out. You know, the idea of generating new productions by drawing on the community and having playwrights. If you're watching at home and you've got a play in the bag, you know, that you want to have produced, or see how actors can read it, this is an awesome opportunity to try and try to see what it would be like to actually have actors read those lines.
And it's not limited to just playwrights, directors, actors, any member that of the community can come in and affect this piece in some way. And it's just an amazing process, and I feel very fortunate to have a wonderful theater like Burning Coal to explore that. And being in my young 20s, it's
very exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Not many people give us opportunities like this, and thank you, Jerry, very much for that.
Oh, sure.
So what was the model that you're drawing on? I think we had chatted once before, and you were from Chicago, and there's obviously the very well-respected Steppenwolf theater company there. Is that kind of, do they have something like that?
I didn't work with Steppenwolf. I worked with Victory Gardens Theater up in Chicago, and when I came down here about a year ago, I fell in love with Burning Coal and their mission and what they want to do with the community. So this process is very much tailor-made for Burning Coal. It's drawn some inspirations from different places, but it's really becoming a Burning Coal lab, not necessarily like modeled off after other theater companies.
Sure.
So that's what's so nice about this process and being open to different possibilities with it. So what generated Play Naked was we were looking for a way to be able to put new works on its feet without all the technical elements on top of it. So we use rehearsal props, we use very simple sets, we don't have fancy lighting or sound or anything like that. It's just the language and the actors and the director and the playwright exploring this piece and really letting us be vulnerable with it.
Sure. And yet with the new space that you have, it looks fabulous. You know, don't sell yourself short just because you know they don't have fabulous costumes or whatever for these lab productions. Because of the space, I think you've got a very unique opportunity to produce some really extraordinary work there.
Yeah. And this Play Naked was one of the things that Jerry brought to us and said, why don't we think about doing something like this? And Johann Maynard and I just kind of ran with it. And then once we got Will's piece, we just said that was the first. Let's make that our guinea pig and let's go for it. So.
The canary in the coal mine.
Yeah. The burning coal mine.
So again, if you're tuning in, one of the neat things about Burning Coal is that you can either, if you're thinking about directing or if you're just interested in the production of a play, they're really working on developing that. And Will is a living testament to that. I had the opportunity to actually see Lightning Rocks, the play that you guys produced, in a very early form. And so could you talk a little bit about what that early form was and then how you shaped it as a writer to actually be produced in the theater?
Well, it was originally it was a 10-page excerpt from a feature screenplay I wrote, and it just kind of morphed over time into a short screenplay. And then when this opportunity became available, we adapted it for the stage instead. And then there wasn't really a whole lot of rewriting that was necessary, but if anything, there was just sort of a letting go process, and I think that was really beneficial for me, is seeing how other people are going to bring it to life and just watching it. So it's been really great.
And could you talk a little bit, Angela, as one of the company members who was on board for Lightning Rocks, what that process was like from an actor's point of view, seeing the very first reading and then how it was developed as it went along?
Well, it was fascinating. I wasn't sure at first what to expect. We came in, read the script, and it was really interesting. And it gave Sylvia a chance to do all these directorial things, you know, that she is so good at, getting us together in very different ways, not just with the script and the language, but exercises, viewpoints, things like that.
Yeah, I took part in that one.
And that was wonderful. And then
therapy.
She really said, you know, just create, just do something, and I will tell you, you know, do more, do less, whatever. And we made a lot of our own choices. That was wonderful, and then she brought these elements in to create tension between characters. We played monkey in the middle between. So I was in the middle, and
I just watched.
The two guys in the play were throwing things over me, and the idea was that I'm in between them, and they're both trying to reach me, and that was really cool. And then I had to waltz with a character without touching him, because that was supposed to bring us to a point where we felt like we wanted to connect, but we just couldn't. And it was a wonderful technique, and it really worked. And she'd say to us in rehearsal, think about that dance, think about that dance.
Sure.
And it really helped. So to bring it all together,
Yeah.
and then with language.
With the process being so short, you have to find really quick ways to create connections with the actors and with the characters. And so getting them on their feet and moving and I guess just letting them let go of that and just play and have fun. There's such a childlike element to this play that it was wonderful to bring in like childlike elements and games to kind of bring that fun out of them. And they really, like, in a matter of like a week and a half, they really were a solid company. So that was really exciting to see happen so quickly.
It's got to be amazing to see these professional actors developing the play and learning the lines. What was it like from seeing, you know, that first reading, and then the next time you join them to see them have the lines memorized? It's got to blow your mind, I would imagine.
Yeah, the whole thing. I mean, just having it read alone was you know, satisfying, and hearing responses to it. But then the rest of it, it was I just became an observer. I mean, it was sort of part of the process, but just really learning a lot about the realities involved with producing something, and letting go of certain ideas that you have about it, and then just really enjoying seeing like some of the choices that the actors or the director decide to make, and how that actually you know, benefits things. So that's what I learned.
May I ask Will a question?
Sure.
Were there moments in the process when an actor discovered something that you didn't know was in the script?
Well, it's interesting because I was thinking at some point they're missing, like, you're missing the point of this part here, but then I thought, all right, well, maybe they're bringing something else out. So I guess without being specific, yeah, there were certain moments like that happening. And really the final judgment is, you know, or the audience is pretty much the thing that tells you whether or not it works.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Is the idea, is there, I guess, a vision of perhaps taking a play like Will's, doing the, what is it called, the naked?
Play naked, yeah.
Play naked production, which doesn't mean that they don't have clothes on.
Yeah.
It just means that it's kind of a bare bones production.
Yes.
But again, the space is so nice that you wouldn't think that it's a bare bones production. Is the idea that after the Play Naked production, that depending on the audience response, that you may put it into a production for a weekend or a week or something like that? Is that on the...
Well, the idea of the lab is to grow as artists. We grow as writers, we grow as directors, we grow as actors. So we use this as like as a way of moving us forward as artists, and that's really what the focus of this is, of the lab is to allow us to explore our art and
Not so much for a specific goal.
Yeah.
Right. Which is good. That helped me back off from my specific goals. I came in the first day, I'm like, I want these. I got 2 things, and I want to see them done.
Yeah.
Like,
we got to shake that. We got to shake that out of them. This is really a process-oriented lab, and we chose the lab because it explores the idea of experimenting, and that we work hard and we work together, and just exploring these different options that we have, and that's why we keep the process of the lab so open as well. So it's a phenomenal opportunity, and I just feel so amazingly blessed to be able to partake in this.
That's awesome. As you guys are watching this at home, you know it's September. During the month of September, what do you guys at Burning Coal have coming up in late September and into October and November?
Well, we're opening production on September 11th, which runs through the 28th, of the American premiere, actually, of a play by the British playwright David Edgar, called The Prisoner's Dilemma.
Awesome.
And David is most known in the United States for an adaptation of Nicholas Nickleby that he did with the Royal Shakespeare Company that won the Tony Award back in the 80s. It played on Broadway for over a year and was 6.5 hours long, and was the first $100 ticket on Broadway. Distinctions that I'm not sure our friend Mr. Edgar would be happy about necessarily, but he's quite an interesting character. He's one of the 5 or 6 great living British playwrights, and he has come to Raleigh twice during the month of August to work with us on this play.
Wow.
Flown across the Atlantic twice to work with Angela and Sylvia and myself and the cast of 19 that we've assembled for this play. And The Prisoner's Dilemma, just to be very succinct about it, is a play about conflict resolution. It happens to be set in a former Soviet bloc country, and So the conflict with Russia and Georgia and South Ossetia that's going on right now is almost really the play. When I wake up in the morning and hear NPR talking about this breakaway state and that conflict and whether we can have peace with justice, all of these things are absolutely to the point of the play. And of course, David wrote the play 6 or 7 years ago. So it's a wonderful play. It's very exciting, and it's about something. You know, it's about something. And I just think all too often in society today we don't give ourselves that opportunity. We sort of gravitate toward the low end of things, entertainment and that sort of thing. And this play is very entertaining. It has, all kinds of physical and emotional trauma, but in the service of an idea or of a question. And that question is it possible to have peace and justice at the same time? And it's a question that we're going to need to think about, as a culture as we go forward. So it's a good play, and it's an exciting play. And then we're also a couple of other things that are going on. In November, we open a play, Southeastern premiere of a play called Hysteria, which is a farce about Sigmund Freud and Salvador Dali. If you can imagine those two in the same room at one time. Throw in to that the Jewish philosopher Yehuda, and a barely clothed young woman hiding in the closet, and you have an idea of what hysteria is like, and so we're looking forward to that one as well. What else are we doing, Sylvia?
Our next lab meeting is September 22nd, so you all are more than welcome to come and check it out, and we'll put some plays on its feet and get actors moving and get some of those words into the space. So that's the next thing that's happening on for the lab.
And that's at the Murphy School?
At the Murphy School, yes.
That's awesome. So again, if you're watching us at home and you want to check it out online, the website is burningcoal.org. And the plays that they've got coming up, The Prisoner's Dilemma and then Hysteria. And if folks want to buy tickets to these plays, can they buy them the night of, or do they need to buy them in advance, and how do you actually acquire a
Well,
ticket?
it's a good idea to call in advance. Our telephone number is 834-4001. The website is burningcoal.org. There's one other thing I wanted to point out. On September 11th, on the opening night of The Prisoner's Dilemma, we'll also be honoring Dr. Assad Mamandi, who has very generously given us some cash for the naming rights of the building, quite a lot of cash, as it turns out, and helped us to get over that final hump in the renovation of the space. And so we're going to have a party for him, and those of you who know him know that his generosity and his intelligence and his humor are unsurpassed in our community. And so if you want to join us for that, it's a big party, and then we'll have the opening, the American premiere performance of the play, and David Edgar, the playwright, will be on hand that night. Nice. So you can come and meet David. Tickets are $75 for that.
That's awesome. Well, we're just about out of time here. Again, the website, if you want to check it out, is burningcoal.org, and I highly recommend checking out some of these plays. I know I'm going to get tickets from my wife and I to come to The Prisoner's Dilemma. I'd like to thank you all for joining us in studio today.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
And for all of us here at the Raleigh Television Network and the Artist Craft, we thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you.